the natal chart and bring some light on what astrology is.
Well, I know my knowledge of astrology is very, very limited, so I just know this is a snapshot of the sky at a certain point in life. It could be your birthday or any day in the past.
Any significant day. Or in the future. If you want to get married and you know the date and the time, or if you want to open a business, you need the time of that starting point, and you can create a chart, and that this map is telling you a lot about how about the quality of time and what's going to happen during that time. So we can use astrology as a lens to the past and the future, and obviously the present moment.
Okay, basically I just know about the horoscope. And I'm a Capricorn.
Yes, you're a Capricorn. I'm a Libra.
Right, and I'm a Capricorn. So
what is this?
that's my understanding. So as I'm drawing this, I understand these are also
These are signs, planets, signs, houses. So it's a whole philosophy. It's mathematics basically.
Okay.
It's mapping the sky through degrees. We didn't put degrees here, but it's a very advanced way of understanding life. It's a life philosophy. But I don't want to move so fast into that space. I want to start with what you said, the horoscope, and the fact that we know about our sun sign.
Okay.
So most people, they read a magazine or they look on social media and they read about their sun sign or about their sign, and that is a constellation in the sky where the sun was at the moment of birth. So in your case, it's Capricorn. In my case, it's Libra. But that is maybe, I don't know, 20% of who you are. The sun represents, if you think about the sun out there in the sky, what would you say about the sun? Like what would Kristie say about the sun?
The sun?
Yeah. Like how would you interpret the sun out there?
Well, the sun represents life. If there's no sun,
There's no life.
right? And even for in yoga, we have Surya Namaskar, which is a sun salutation. So you're rising with the sun, and you
Sets with the sun.
Yeah, you do that asana, and asana is a pose. So that's one of the first, a yoga pose or a yoga series of poses called Surya Namaskar, where you're paying homage to the sun.
So you pay homage to life and being born again every day.
Yes.
And basically the sun represents our vitality, our life purpose. And sometimes we say it's our identity because it's shining, it's bringing light and warmth and helps things grow in our life. So the more we grow into our sun, the more fulfilled we feel. And most of us are not expressing the sun sign from the beginning of our life. We have to grow into it. We have to consciously bringing light and awareness on those traits of the sun sign. We start expressing them. And naturally, what we express is either our moon sign or our ascendant sign.
What's the ascendant sign?
Is this point here? It means the rising sign. So the ascendant or the rising sign, at the moment of our birth or any birth, we go outside and we look up and we see the sky. And let's just say we would be able to map the sky in a second. And the constellation on the horizon, the one that is just coming out, that is the rising sign. That's the sign of your rising. And the ascendant or the rising sign talks about how we start things, how we start our life. And in astrology, when we go to an astrologer or we learn astrology, the point in the chart where we have the rising tells us the story of our birth. So someone born with a significant planet here, like I have encountered a lot in my work, would have had a traumatic birth or some sort of story around the birth or around the mother or where it was, where they were born, or how they were born. And knowing our ascendant sign and everything that talks to the ascendant, in your case we don't have any planet here, but in my case I have Mercury here on the ascendant, Mercury is the planet of communication, sharing information, writing, talking, facilitating, education, I guess. Is the teacher, the bridge between worlds and hearts and people. So, in a way, that what we have on the ascendant tells us how we are going to navigate life, how we are going to create and start and begin, and anything we begin in life speaks about the ascendant. And the ascendant is also, in a way, the car we drive. And I'm using this metaphor, and how we drive. The car. So for example, you with Sagittarius ascendant, you do horse riding.
Yeah.
That, Sagittarius is, I always recommend to my clients who have strong Sag in their chart as a way of healing and finding themselves to go do horse riding. Because it's the sign of the centaur. And in mythology, the centaur is a very powerful being, a very wise being, but also very connected to the instinct. So it's like a blend between human ascending into awareness and nature. And you ride through life, with that energy, like the energy you feel when you do horse riding.
Yeah.
If that makes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yes. So funny things like that. Astrology can bring a lot of details like that, which can be very funny but very authentic and honest for who we are.
And I mean, with my research, Sagittarius is linked with Zeus, god of the sky and thunder.
Yes. So astrology is a blend of so many things, but Greek mythology is the foundation, I guess. It's like a big part of the foundation, and we don't need to necessarily learn astrology in a very traditional way. I didn't learn it traditionally. I learned it through, you can't see, but we have all the signs here and all the gods from Greek mythology that speak with the signs. That's how I learned. That's how I entered the path with astrology, by coming from mythology and from all the deities and stories of heroes. And
so, as I was writing this down, I'm Capricorn, and I've done a story on Persephone.
Isn't that amazing?
And I didn't know that.
Yes, isn't that so?
Because Persephone is the goddess of the harvest and queen of the underworld.
Yes, she's Persephone has a very deep story which is linked with Venus retrograde, because Persephone is this innocent daughter of Demeter, the goddess of earth, and she is abducted by Pluto, which is the god of the underworld. And she's so innocent, and she's so she's picking flowers from a field, and she's being abducted, and she goes into the underworld, and she has to strip all her qualities, innocence, vulnerability, having no worries.
There's a story of, I think it's the Anunnaki, where, is it Inanna? She goes into the underworld.
Yes.
And she removes
all the adornments, like a bracelet,
crown,
necklace. And I think Inanna, if I remember correctly, she comes from the Babylonian tradition. Yeah. So all cultures, thousands of years before Christ, they had the same, not the same, they had different stories, but they all merged towards the same parts of the sky. The sun, the moon, Venus, the stars and the points of the sky they would have seen reliable, because everything in life was based on the sky. The way they built their cities, the way they did agriculture, the way they grew, anything had to do with the sky.
Yes, you guys know about the pyramids in Egypt, in Mexico, and they're linked with let me just draw it. They're linked with this constellation, and I'll erase it, which is Orion's belt.
Yeah.
The Egyptian pyramids are linked with that constellation.
And when the star is in a certain position, one day a year, the light comes in perfect alignment. Like the light aligns perfectly with some parts of, and it's the same with temples in Peru where they worship the sun, different days. And then there are many churches in Europe, old churches that would have aligned their altar with the sun and sometimes with the moon. So there is a lot of archaeological evidence that we have learned to live based on our relationship with the sky. And what we do with astrology, if we move from just knowing the sun sign and going into what actually astrology is, the logos of the star, the knowledge and the wisdom that comes from knowing about the stars, is we gather a lot of information about ourselves basically, and everything else we are talking about. So this is your chart, but we can design a chart of a celebration, or we want to throw a party and we want to know how that is going to be, and we can see that. Or we have, a friend has a baby and we look at the chart in that moment and we can understand a little bit of the potential of that person or a business or anything.
Were you saying like the stars don't move?
This stays fixed, so this is a fixed map.
No, but in the solar system.
In the solar system, the stars don't move. The planets move, and the word planet means wanderer. So the planet moves, and that's how we do astrology. We know the planets are moving. So what we didn't write here, we didn't draw, where the planets are in this moment in time. So, the moon is in Libra today. Where is Libra? Up there at the top of the chart. So the moon would be here today. Venus is in Gemini, so Venus would be here, and we can map all the other planets. And that's how we predict, or that's how we talk about how the day is going to be. Like when I write on Instagram about the energy of the time, I talk about these planets that are moving, and I say what kind of energy they bring into our life. But this chart stays fixed. So who you are stays who you are. You don't shift. What changes is the way you express the planets and the signs. So you are Sun in Capricorn, which means you like structure. You like things to be in a certain order. You are a hardworking person. Maybe a little bit skeptical. What else I would say about Capricorn? Very grounded and practical. It's an earth sign. Now, how you express this Capricorn energy can be risk averse. For example, many Capricorns would not take risks. They would build a very strong foundation and a very strong business or relationship, and then they would be afraid of change. Or you can be the Capricorn who goes through life, struggles, and learns that the foundation is not external in their business or their family or their money bank account. You learn that the foundation is very internal. It has to do with your skills and traits and resources. So then you'll be more open to change and building again.
Just that this, I always see the goat climbing this
hard mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Yes. The Capricorn is represented by the mountain goat, which is a very good metaphor for these people, Capricorns, who work very hard to achieve their goals, and their goals are harder than other people's goals. Harder in the sense that it's almost like Capricorn, they don't take the easy route. They are not opportunistic. They don't just create abundance and luck. They work hard for it. And while, an Aries would just speed ahead and take a leap and not think about consequences, Capricorns do think about consequences. And when our moon is in Capricorn, that speaks louder than the sun being in Capricorn, because the moon, where is your moon? in Virgo. So the moon represents in astrology our feelings and emotions and how we react to life based on our feelings and emotions. It's like the easy, normal behavior we show up every day. The sun is more who we are in society, how we are being seen by everyone, how we, the brand, the role. So your sun is story and myth, if I can say that. Yeah? So story and myth is her sun, but her moon is who she's in her home. So you don't really know a person until, I guess, you know their moon. And by knowing their moon, this means living with them, spending a lot of time with them, eating with them, cooking with them, being with them when they are sick. The moon represents the body. And the moon is the one that creates intimacy, not the sun. So in relationships, we work with the moon, with Venus, with Mars. I mean, we work with the whole chart, but we don't look at the sun necessarily when we do relationships, any sort of relationships, partnerships, romantic, family, especially family. The moon is also the way you are nurtured by your mother, the way you perceive your mother, and the way you nurture yourself, and how you nurture other people. And the sun of the moon, and any relationship that the moon does with other planets, tells a story about how you process your feelings, what is your normal reaction when something happens. So moon in Virgo would be grounded and practical, down to earth, analytical, while moon in Sagittarius would be wild and feisty and passionate. Moon in Pisces would be extremely sensitive. Light went off. The moon is a very important part of us, and we can't say we know anything in astrology or we love astrology if we don't really tap into the moon, because it helps a lot. If you have a problem with your digestion or your body health is not as it's best, the moon is the first thing you look at. Yeah. And you try working with the moon. So in your case, just an example, moon in Virgo needs a lot of clean substances. You don't do well with toxic substances, because Virgo is the sign of purity and detoxing. So you would need not necessarily to take medicine when you are sick, but to drink green juice or just detox and fast and get out of your system toxic elements or toxic people, situations, or.
And there, Virgo is aligned with Demeter, goddess of grain and agriculture.
Yeah, she was the goddess of the earth.
And actually, people plant with the moon.
Yes.
Even these,
yes,
they're supposed to be picked a certain time.
Yes. We peak. So on the full moon, everything is full and everything is full of water. We store water on the full moon. And on a new moon, or the face is going towards the new moon, we relinquish water like 3 days before the when there's actually no moon in the sky.
But also women's cycles are linked with the moon and the tides.
Yes, and that gives you a lot of information. When your cycle is based on the face of the moon, can tell you what you are doing in that particular space in your life. Like someone who has a cycle in alignment with the full moon, they are in a stage in their life when they need to complete, to blossom, to bring something into fruition. When
that means menstruating with the full moon.
Yes. And when we are menstruating with the new moon, it's a stage in our life when we are building something, we are beginning, we are conceiving something new. So it's, the energy is different. And so there are other phases of the moon. So you can learn a lot about energetically, where are you, no matter what you do in life, where are you energetically? How are you aligned with the bigger things in your life that you can't really see or feel, or all these things that we have no capacity to see? The moon tells the story. And not just the moon, everything, the chart and the planets that are triggering us. So this is a very important tool to understand who we are, why we do the things we do, why we think the way we do, anything. It can speak about anything. And then on top of that, based on the transits, the planets moving and affecting us, we would understand why sometimes we go through hardship, or what can we do to navigate periods of hardship. 2020 is a very
I was just gonna ask you
strong.
about now.
2020 is such an important, significant year, and it's super transformational. We have strong planets in the sign of Capricorn here, and Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, they are in Capricorn, and they are affecting any structure, anything we have built in our societies. Saturn is the planet of the society. And Pluto is the lord of the underworld. So things that are not seen, that are...
Oh, so Pluto is another name for Hades?
Yes. Hades and Pluto are the same. Pluto is the Roman name and Hades is the Greek name. Yes. So Pluto is bringing from under the rug all the things we have not integrated, and we can look what's happening, what has been happening in the past month in the States, and Corona brought a lot of fear that we knew was there, but we didn't process it. So Pluto is bringing out stuff that we don't want to deal with. And then Saturn wants to keep the rigidity of structures we have built. Education. Like, look how education changed in the past months. Everything is online now. Work and how we do work. And we'll see a lot of changes economically, politically, we'll see all of that. So these planets are really affecting us on a very wide collective level, but also personally. And how do they affect personally? When there are points in the chart that are actually affected, like the planet outside is on top of your planet here. So that's when your life is like, what's happening in my life? Good or bad? Something amazing can happen, or you can go through transformations and have to let go of things that were always there.
What is, I've always heard people talk about, I think it's
Mercury retrograde.
Like, I felt like
Which is happening now.
Okay. But in the past, I always felt like I didn't
You didn't understand?
Yeah.
So,
I didn't know when it was happening, and so I would see people posting on it.
Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year, and it happens for 3 weeks. But the whole cycle of it lasts for about a month and a half. And every planet goes retrograde, so it's not just Mercury. It's not nothing special about Mercury.
All the planets
go retrograde, and Mercury is not the one that goes retrograde. Like Pluto goes retrograde for 5 months every year, and Neptune, and so it's not like Mercury is that special. I think it became special in this time of social media and online communication, because Mercury is the planet associated with communication. And when Mercury is retrograde, communication goes inward. It's a reflective communication. It's a time to integrate things that we think and say. It's not as forward. It's not as open towards external. You know, the motion is not outward, it's inward. So there is this fashion of saying that when Mercury is retrograde, things are going wrong. Like, there are misunderstandings between, people may misunderstand us talking now. We could say it's Mercury retrograde. An email, you think you sent an email and the email is not received. You sign a contract with someone and then 2 weeks later something goes wrong and they change their mind, or the things you signed about, they are not there. So it's recommended under Mercury retrograde to do as less outward external communication as possible, and to reflect on the things you really want to communicate. But saying this, Mercury retrograde is a very good time to revisit, re-edit, review things that you have done in the past. So if you're writing a book, these 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde are very good to edit your book. If you're in a relationship and you have problems with your partner, it's good at this time, take the time to understand what they are actually saying that you are saying or communicating, because you're gonna process things in a different way during Mercury retrograde. And this one is going to finish on July 12th. So until July 12th, we might experience.
We're in a Mercury retrograde
Yes.
till July 12th.
Yes, in the sign of Cancer. So we need to consider the sign as well, because Cancer is water. It's about feelings and it's about establishing connection with other people, heart connection. Cancer is the sign of the family, nest, where we feel safe. Therefore, during this time with Mercury retrograde, we might want to talk about things that have to do with family and parenting and any nurturing space that we are in. So a lot of conversation might be triggered around this theme of safety and connection, and probably we're going to see a resolve at the end of July after Mercury finishes its retrograde movement.
So you said Mercury is in
Cancer.
Cancer.
Right now.
Right now. So it's what? Mercury and then Cancer? Like what
Yeah,
happens?
so you see how you have planets here, Saturn in Gemini, Mercury Cancer. They move. Mercury moves like every month. It moves sign every month. It doesn't move as fast when it's retrograde.
Okay. Still processing.
I know this is hard to understand if you're not studying it, but it's not about the technicalities of it. That's why you have an astrologer.
Yeah.
It's more about learning your planets, what signs they are in, and what things they are doing in the chart, so you can understand yourself better.
Do you want to go like, I don't know, either give an example of when you are planning an event and you look at the charts, or I don't know, go through just through the signs?
Yes, I do that often, and I do it for my clients as well. They are planning something which probably has to do with a business or a big event like a marriage or something like that, and we do look at how the planets are aligning and for that purpose, because it's not that this is not good or bad or wrong or right, whatever the chart is showing us. We always have to consider what is the purpose of what we want to do, or what is the purpose naturally with a chart. Like in your case, we look at
Or you could just do in general.
in general, yeah. It's not talking about Kristie. It's just talking in general. We well, we are gonna use the symbol.
Yes.
So we read the chart as the planets and the signs and the houses. So
What are the houses?
the houses are areas of life,
Okay.
and we know where something is happening because of these spaces in the chart. Like it's happening, it has to do with your career, it has to do with your relationships, with money, with education, with growing. We know that as astrologers, we know where things are happening because we have the houses, the spaces. And we also know the type of energy you are going to encounter or you need to tap into. And because of what planet is doing what he's doing, we can tell people what to embody. So if you want to make money, for example, you embody Venus. And why do I say that? Because you have Venus in the area of money. If I want to make money, I have Venus, the goddess of love, harmony, balance, beauty. You adorn. Venus loves adornment. Aphrodite in Greek mythology, Venus in Rome.
But is that in general, in the house of money, to have Venus? Or can you use another?
Well, this is your plan. This is in your case. I have Jupiter there, like you do. So I have Jupiter in the area of money and Uranus. And other people may have nothing. And that doesn't mean that they don't have an energy that speaks about the money. They have the sign, and they also have transits that will aspect the area of money. But this is the funny, easy thing with astrology, that you know what to embody if you know your natal chart. And when I say embody, I mean literally invite that energy in and leave that energy, be that energy. And you do it like for you know, you didn't know astrology when you started to create jewelry and to do this thing. And this is another thing that astrology is so, like for me it's amazing how people come to me and they tell me their life story and they have this unconscious insight, this alignment with their natural tendencies, and they go and they open this path in their life and they start building on this path, which is so authentic. It's mind-blowing how aligned we are with this higher self, or I don't know how to call it. And astrology is just a tool. It's like glasses to look into that, to understand that.
I was curious if you've ever looked at like a psychopath.
I have books at home that speak about psychopaths and their chart. And sorry about the smile, but
I'm smiling too. I'm smiling too.
I'm fascinated.
Is there a famous psychopath that you know, like their chart?
I don't know it now I don't have it now in my memory. But we can just look into it, like Google it, and we can say a lot about it just by looking at the chart. There is something that I do because the way I work with astrology, I do counseling with astrology. So I'm not just reading a chart, I'm talking about problems you are going through, and I'm using the chart. So a lot of people would come to me for anxiety, depression, hopelessness, lack of purpose, and or anger, and I use the chart to understand the problem or the challenge they have. For example, Virgo people, strong Virgo.
Meaning born in Virgo.
Not just having the sun in the sign of Virgo, having different planets, like 3-4 planets in the sign of Virgo.
Okay.
They are extremely anxious. So anxiety is, we can call the pathology of the sign of Virgo is anxiety, or constant worry and intrusive thoughts. When someone has a lot of planets in the sign of Pisces, that could be a sign of emotional sensitivity to extreme, and then a sign for a clear sign for addiction. So we find a lot of addiction with strong Pisces. What else? We find manic behavior with Sagittarius, strong Sagittarius. But my philosophy and the way I perceive this whole spectrum of healing, I don't necessarily say this, that anxiety or manic behavior or sensitivity would be detrimental. I always see this as a huge potential of energy which is not expressed in the right way. So I had this session this morning, a beautiful session, and we spoke about fear, to the point of fear being paralyzing. My client is from the States, so she could not go outside. She stopped running because of this fear and everything that is happening. But the fear was also triggering things within herself. So the way we worked in the session was that, she's been resisting the fear, she's been opposing the fear. And she has Scorpio, strong Scorpio in the chart, and Scorpio is an indication of very deep-seated fear that may have nothing to do with our personal trauma, maybe almost like tapping into a collective trauma.
Scorpio is linked with Kali, goddess
Yes.
of death, sexuality.
Yes.
And she brings transformation to the ego.
Yes. Well, you can't transform anything unless you are allowing it to be there with you and looking at it. So the way I worked was, okay, we are going to invite this fear in, because the fear has been knocking and knocking and knocking, and you repressed it. And it got louder to the point of you being so afraid and becoming paralyzed. So we are going to invite the fear. But for someone with strong Scorpio in the chart, it's very hard to do it, because being vulnerable with your emotions and tapping into, that's very hard to do. maybe someone with more Aries or some other more grounded earth energy would work through the body, and they would be able to connect with the fear. So in this case, we use this metaphor of, okay, bring it in. We're going to play some tribal music, and you're going to just allow the fear to go through you, and you're going to just move your body the way you want to move your body, and we're not going to think about it. And she was, while I was talking, she was moving her body without any music on the background. And so we were creating this openness for the fear to come out. Now, why would I talk like this? Of course, everything is like, with me, when I work, I know the chart, so it's like the chart speaks through me. But when we have Scorpio energy, Scorpio is like this, it's very stuck emotionally. We don't want to let go. Strong Scorpio people do not want to let go of their emotions, whatever the emotion is. So we need to create very gently openness. Very, very gently. So we can heal.
So they have a tough exterior then. And you would never know anything.
You would never know. You would never know. And that's the beauty of this tool. With it, we bypass so much time of knowing you, because I have this, if you are going through something, I look at this and I say, okay, I recommend you do things in this way because Mars is in Taurus, so you need to go in nature and connect with nature if you want to be energetic to achieve your goals. Don't stay at your desk. Go and be in nature and work in nature so you can tap into that Mars quality of getting things done and achieving your goals. And yeah.
I know that usually works for me.
It does. Mars in Taurus. So you cannot be creative, the area of creativity, the 5th house of creativity. You cannot be creative if you're not in nature. Where you are creative and where you are achieving and expressing and getting things done is in nature.
No, because that actually does happen. Really well.
Yes, it's very spot on. Astrology is extremely spot on when we are listening. Let's see if we have questions from but I'm not able to see them. Okay, I can.
You can.
Oh, what did I do? I did something.
Maybe go back to it.
Yes, I'm going back to it. And now I can't see them anymore. Sorry, guys. Would you like to send your questions now? Yeah, I can't see. Can you speak to Libra, Sun, and Aries Moon? Okay, I can speak. I'm a Libra Sun. Libra Sun, someone who finds their purpose and their vitality in intellectual spaces. Libra needs a partner to converse about abstract things. So like we do now, we speak about astrology. This is an abstract concept. The main drive of a Libra Sun is to create connection and togetherness in terms of this mental, airy space. Information, knowledge, maybe wisdom, but done together with someone. So this is the way Libras function. What do they want to achieve with it? Harmony and balance between ideas, patterns, opposites, people. So you will often see Libras bringing the opposite or being the devil's advocate in a meeting, business meeting, in a partnership, because there is this unconscious energy of creating balance. That's the purpose of the Libra Sun. And the Sun is going to show that to the world. They are very good mediators because they can understand so many points of view. And it's it's not about who is wrong or right with Libra. It's never about right or wrong. They can be in a room with psychopaths or with criminals, and they would still be the same. They have the same ability of understanding everyone's point of view.
Like
yeah, we have something to do with psychopaths. So it's about creating this harmony and balance. Now, you asked also about Aries moon. Someone with Libra sun and Aries moon would come across as very gentle and maybe sophisticated and elegant, but then inside their emotions run very fast, and they are very, very passionate in the way they feel about something. Aries is also a very Aries fights for a cause, while Libra doesn't like injustice. So someone born with moon in Aries and the sun in Libra may be a very good person to fight for a cause which is unjust, because they will be aligned. And Aries moon needs an outlet for that energy of expressing emotion outwards. Aries is a sign, both Aries and Libra express outward. They need to express to the outer world. It's not an inward sign. So keeping things in, whether Libra doesn't talk and doesn't express this need for balance, or energy, feelings, emotions are not allowed to be expressed, that can shut down the person, that can make them sick or depressed. So they need a cause, they need some fighting to go on in their life, fight for something, fight against injustice.
So those tend to be activists, or?
Yeah, yes, I would say so. And then someone else asked about ascendant in Sagittarius. I think, I'm not sure, I don't have the message here. In Sagittarius, I think, or Capricorn. I think it was Capricorn. Ascendant in Capricorn. People with ascendant in Capricorn, they start things and go about things in a very structured way. They have to plan in advance. They have to make sure everything is in order. They are not gonna go about anything without this control over how things are going to play out. And they may come across as very put together, sometimes rigid, sometimes bound to many rules and regulations and we should do things like that, because Capricorn needs this containment of how things should be like, to negotiate their own fear and their own fear. Yeah, all signs do that. Heidi is saying, hi Heidi, saying, I never thought about that as a Libra, but so true. Yes, so when we don't go deep into astrology, we may misunderstand the signs, and this is the reason why my writing about astrology is a bit different than others, and I have received this feedback a lot, that I should write in a different way so I can I guess speak to more people or a wider audience, but I do not align with what is being said about the signs out there, because it's a very superficial level, and I think a lot of people are doing it to attract attention and whatever, clients and whatever. But no, when you actually go deep into astrology and you work with clients and you process it, not just absorbing, you're not just taking it in and then giving it out, like living it. That's why many times I write and I say living astrology. It's about living it to understand it, so you can teach or so you can counsel someone. And the signs are just, I don't know, people just scratch the surface when they speak about the signs, and I don't really resonate with that.
Was it you who were talking about Taurus, where in the present it's, in other words, Taurus being more ancient was like how you had the Egyptian. Sorry, I think is it Hera?
Hera, the goddess of the earth.
No, sorry. Oh my God, I'm forgetting.
So
The Egyptian goddesses that had the horns, the cow goddess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it was a more ancient aspect versus now. So like some of these signs, their meaning way back when had a different meaning compared to now.
Definitely. Like the more we grow as humans, we lose depth, I think. Yeah, we lose depth. Definitely. That's why when we understand, when we the ones who are into astrology go and study astrology, we can't study astrology from starting with the 21st century. We have to go back in history, before the back, like when we have the first indications that people were negotiating with the sky. So we have to learn about the Greeks, Babylonians, and Egyptians, and all those astrologies and other types of astrology that is not Western. So let's go back. I'm a Libra Sun, Sag Moon. The Sagittarius Moon is again very passionate. It's a fire sign. So the person expresses emotions in a way that is very experiential. Someone who feels through their body their emotions when they are having them. Someone who needs to do something like either talk or somehow be in their environment, create, run. So there's this experiential expression of emotions. While for someone with water, they may sit with it or cry, or someone with Moon in Virgo, they may do something with their hands, like wash the dishes or clean the house. Someone with Moon in Libra would think about emotions and rationalize. Sag Moon needs to create an experience around that emotion. So it's almost like a dramatic experience around the emotions they feel. And they are motivated by finding meaning in their heart. So when someone is born with Sagittarius Moon, it's almost like a spiritual death to live a life that is too mundane and there is no purpose and no meaning. And that meaning and purpose doesn't have to be like changing the world, but there has to be an alignment with meaning and purpose and growth. Keep a Sagittarius person stagnant, they're gonna be depressed. What does it mean for my creativity with Pluto in my 5th house? It's also ruled by Scorpio. Okay, Pluto is a transpersonal planet, so I wouldn't go directly to Pluto if I would look at your chart, Monique. I would look at other things happening in the chart and not necessarily at Pluto. The way Pluto would, let's just say for the sake of the conversation, you connect with your creativity and you become creative by doing shadow work, by going very deep and exploring trauma and things that are almost unconscious. So through work that has to be more healing therapeutic work, working with a psychologist, with a therapist, doing different practices like yin yoga, practices that take you out of that comfortable, rational, cerebral space, you can go into the terrain of Pluto. Or when you go through something very hard in life, very Plutonian, when something dies, when a relationship breaks, when you lose something, that's when you are in the territory of Pluto, and that's probably the best time for you to become very creative or to tap into that richness of creativity.
Right now, right?
Yes. Yes. So that's what I would say about Pluto in the 5th house of creativity. Since we are in Cancer season, what is the chart saying? Well, what chart? We can create a chart for anything. Cancer season, again, this is a very Western simplistic way of seeing things. The sun is in Cancer and we say it's Cancer season. I would say, to be honest, that this is more a Plutonian season with 2020 and everything that is going on. I wouldn't say it's a Cancer season. But staying with the sun and what we know about Cancer, could be that it's a time to focus on our family and our security and our safety. But this is like very, very superficial, because you have someone who has no planets in Cancer, and her life is not going to be dictated by the fact that this is Cancer season. She's going to be affected by other transits that are much more significant. So it's this separation between astrology as pop culture and how shallow it is towards knowing your natal chart and working with astrology through your natal chart and understanding everything in it. And for that you need to go to an astrologer or start practicing, like really learning astrology. What about the upcoming lunar eclipse in Cancer? Okay, this is gonna be we are in eclipse season. This is much more important than Cancer season. We are in eclipse season. Eclipses happen twice a year, so it's not like oh, we have eclipses. So they happen twice a year, and we call these time of eclipses very energetically open times, when something is being closed, is closing, is ending, is eclipsed, is in darkness, and something else is beginning. Now this is a pretty important time because we had 2 already and we have another eclipse. It's rare to have 3 eclipses paired together. So we had one a week ago when we had the new moon. We had one before, 2 weeks before, and we are going to have the next one on the 7th of July, if I'm correct.
So you say we have 2 a year?
No, we have 2 seasons. So we have spring and then autumn, for example, spring, autumn. And now these ones are taking us into spring, summer, and then we have new ones, I think December, something like that, November, December. What about this one that is happening? So we're gonna have an eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Capricorn. The full moon is gonna be in Capricorn, and the sun is going to be in Cancer, 13, 14 degrees Capricorn, Cancer. I wonder, these ones is gonna affect you.
Ah.
Yeah, it's gonna be on your sun, Mercury.
In what month?
Next week, like in 10 days from now.
Okay.
So we'll see what's gonna come up in Kristie's life then. It's affecting my chart as well. So this is going to be about being very aware, being very
I'm excited now to see if I can weather the storm. Yeah.
But the storm can be very positive, can be a very good storm.
Okay.
So having a full moon in Capricorn, this brings a lot of light on structures and routines that we have created that brought a lot of security in our life. And because it's about a portal of endings and beginnings, we may witness how we need to complete some cycles. Like we need to really complete something, end something that has to do with our security. And where in the chart is happening, we know, like an astrologer can tell you, it's about your family life, it's about your money, it's about your friends, it's about your health. They can tell you what that eclipse is about based on your natal chart. So in my case I have it on the area of foundation, so I suppose that in 10 days from now more is going to be highlighted for me or expressed in my life around what is my life based on. And I am going through that conversation with myself, what's going to happen with me in the next year or so. Am I going to be in Jamaica? Am I not going to be? Where is my home? So that's where the eclipse is triggering me in my life. In Kristie's case, it's about her identity and her communication style, and it's about the first house of personality, how she is and who she is. So maybe changes are going to happen in your life that are going to inspire you more to understand how you shine in the world and how you are. But definitely it's a time for change. And many times we can't control that change with eclipses. We really have no possibility of doing that. It's 2 o'clock and I think we're gonna be cut off. And if you've been with us, thank you for being with us. And we are gonna post this on our pages so you can go back to it.